Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today's topic is also recommended by one of my subscribers, Sunil Dixit. He also recommended the last topic I talked about. So thank you, Sunil, again for this wonderful topic recommendation. And today what I'm going to be talking about is social phobia, and not just social phobia when it comes to interacting with, society or the outside world, but how social phobia can sometimes be triggered from family and friends or interactions with family and friends. So first, I'm just going to talk about what exactly social phobia is. And if I keep looking down, it's just because I have a list of notes that I want to just address in this video. So social phobia or social anxiety disorder is a chronic mental health condition in which social interactions can cause irrational anxiety. Now, of course, this can be in many different levels, from mild social phobia to very extreme social phobia, where lots of therapy and medication is also needed. So we can commonly see it in people who have fears of things like public speaking, dating, even just like eating in front of others, going to restaurants, and having this feeling that everyone's watching them. It can trigger those kinds of anxiety and feelings of just sometimes even inadequacy. Just the fact that sometimes people can obsess so much over little details like, oh, how am I eating, or how am I walking, and how is everyone around me perceiving me in that respect. So obviously, if it gets to a point where we can't continue with our daily lives, then we need to seek professional help. And I feel like a lot of the times in these situations, even in the most extreme cases, I feel like home can be a sanctuary to people who struggle with social anxiety. It's like, okay, once they're home, they don't have to worry about other people watching them or judging them. But then I started thinking about, what happens if home is actually a further trigger of social anxiety? And I feel like sometimes people can start to develop these feelings of inadequacy or develop fear of others because the people who they live with can cause them to internalize these fears of self-doubt. And maybe people are wondering, well, how come? If you have close family and friends, they're supposed to be there to uplift you and guide you and be like a shoulder to cry on. And sometimes everybody doesn't have that luxury of being able to be open with the people that most people could be open with. And I feel like sometimes we can see it in cases of helicopter parents, let's say, parents who they can't, and I don't think it always comes from a place of, wanting to be dominating over their children. Sometimes even with helicopter parents, I think a lot of the time cases can come where maybe these parents experienced a lot of situations in their life which, cause them a lot of struggle and anxiety as well, and so they don't want that to happen to their children. So they try to shelter them very much and try to maybe guide them along lines of, okay, well, you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that, and kind of set out a path for them that they think will cause the least pain. However, sometimes I think helicopter parents fail to realize that, everything in life, there's not a surefire way of discovering things or finding happiness or success or even just existing. There's an element of uncertainty to everything in life. And I feel like with trying to shelter their children in this sense and, watching over their every action, they start to make their children feel very insecure when their children do experience cases of, failure, let's say. And sometimes this can lead to even more issues, because with helicopter parents, they might have this standard of expectations, and their children might feel like, okay, I have to live up to these standards, otherwise my parents won't accept me or love me for who I am. And it can cause a lot of paralysis, in the sense like decision paralysis, or even just paralysis about what to do in life in children. And I feel like it causes this relationship of codependency that isn't very healthy and can lead to further feelings of self-doubt and anxiety. not just around their parents, but then that can be, projected onto other interactions that they have. And also, it can be, I feel like, seen in unsupportive / jealous friends when somebody has a passion for something and their friends start to make them feel doubtful about it. Like, oh, you could never succeed in that. Or why are you even trying? Have you seen how many people have failed in this? It starts to create feelings of self-doubt, especially if that passion or talent that that person has gives them actually a lot of confidence. But then they start to lose confidence because they start thinking that these few people that are saying I can't make it, they're probably right, and everyone else will probably perceive me in the same way as well. And even in whole communities, whole communities can even discourage certain ideas or certain pursuits, and that can cause, self-doubt in that individual. And I feel like when these feelings start from childhood, they grow bigger and they stay into adulthood. A lot of times, with cases like whether it's a verbal abuse, sexual abuse, abuse from parents physically and mentally, or from family, even if it starts as, when someone's a child, and even if it stops when someone's a child, it does leave scars. And these scars, of course with therapy and help, they can get, better. And sometimes they can even maybe go away, but it's a very long process, and it robs a lot of people of their peace of mind and their confidence as well. And this is why I feel like these feelings, when they start from adulthood, and it might not even be cases of like something as extreme as abuse, but even just cases of, just negative talk towards somebody, like whether it's from family or friends. And I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to undermine that, one is worse than the other or one is less worse than the other, because everything can have very negative effects and can affect people differently. But they stay into adulthood, and this is why I feel like we have adults sometimes who are afraid of making perfectly rational decisions, probably, that actually wouldn't cause them any harm, but they are very scared of making them and afraid of going towards that pursuit because they feel like family's not going to support it, they're going to think I'm ridiculous, and they feel like if I don't have that support from my family, then no one else is going to support me, no one else is going to see my potential and my talent, so I can't do that. And from here also, I started to think, like, when exactly did perfection become an ideal? I think a lot of times, of course, we're all humans, and humans, the idea of perfection is something that I think is very futile sometimes, because there's always going to be human error in everything. That I don't think that means that we shouldn't strive to do our best, but we have to realize that doing our best is enough, and this idea of perfection, to keep chasing after it, can be very detrimental. And I think when we strive towards too much perfection sometimes, then we don't grow, because we're very afraid of taking certain decisions that, even though they might not work out in the end, they can teach us so much about ourselves and the world around us. And so I feel like there's no growth without making mistakes. And I feel like when people say something is a success or something is a failure, I personally don't like the word failure very much, because I feel like it's kind of this like doomsday type of word, like, oh, everything ends once it's failure. I think, for me, I just like saying mistakes better, because it's kind of like a lesson that you can learn from it. Like, okay, here's a mistake, maybe it didn't work, but I can learn something from it and try to grow and become a better person out of it. And we need to make mistakes in life because they teach us who we are and what we want. And to always have this sheltered idea of, oh, this is good, this is bad, this is what will lead to stability, success, happiness, and this won't. It can be very harmful sometimes, because I feel like as humans we're all very inquisitive, and part of being inquisitive comes with, experiencing sometimes unpleasant things. Like with, if you put your hand on a stove, obviously it's going to hurt, but now you know not to put your hand on the stove when it's hot. And I feel like to make this idea that, okay, to get to perfection, we need these sheltered successes, it teaches us how to follow kind of blindly without really questioning or thinking about things. And I feel like social anxiety comes a lot from these aspects because people sometimes, I feel like when they have social anxiety or they're very anxious about what people will perceive them as, it's because they have this idea that, okay, this is good, this is bad. So everyone sees this as good, everyone sees this as bad. So if I fall into the bad category, then I'm automatically, you know, a failure and I don't have anything of value to offer the world. And I feel like when we let ourselves be more inquisitive and make mistakes, there's a confidence that comes from it. And even if we didn't achieve something tangible, we start to feel that, you know, there's no limits to what we can do, and that the opportunities and the things that the universe has to offer us are limitless. And I feel like a lot of confidence can come from that as well, just to know that the world is so vast and there's so much that we can gain from it, and there's nothing to be afraid of. There's just, you know, we just need to go out there and explore it. And that, I think, can cause us to have more confidence and, you know, deal with these issues of anxiety and self-doubt much better. So, in conclusion, I just want to say that, you know, there shouldn't be this idea that, you know, something is, you know, there's these certain paths that are good and bad, and people will perceive us in a good way or a bad way if we do certain things. Because it can cause a lot of unnecessary anxiety. And also, I'd also like to say that, you know, words can be very powerful, and we should all think carefully before we judge somebody on what their decisions are, or what they're passionate about, or, you know, just in general what gives them happiness. Because a lot of the times, of course, if it's something that's truly like being detrimental to their life, we can always, you know, show that we care and we want to help them. But to demoralize someone's decisions and to, you know, make them feel diminutive is not nice. It's very detrimental to them. It's very detrimental to their identity, and it just causes a lot of self-doubt, which is not necessary. As humans, we all need to lift each other up. We don't need to bring each other down. And in order for us to be successful, we don't need to bring others down to get to our success as well. So that is very toxic, and I think if concepts like that go away, I think we can help this issue of social anxiety much better. So yeah, hopefully my idea about how social phobia is detrimental to us and how we can help each other through it, hopefully it struck a chord with some of you, or all of you even, hopefully. And I just want to say that be careful what you say to others, and be careful even what you say to yourself. And if you are struggling with issues of social anxiety, then realize that, you know, we all have somewhat of a fear of what others will say of us, but it doesn't have to dictate our whole life and what we end up being. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and if you have any other topic suggestions, please let me know, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. See you later. Bye.